You're looking at nothing but my wall here. There's a reason for that, but today we're going to cover two customs that I finished actually a couple of weeks ago. I decided to delay the video here because of some issues I had with the actual builds, but we're talking about Madeline Pryor, aka the Goblin Queen. I made two customs, and the reason why you're not looking at them right now is because Hasbro, as most people know, with their Marvel Legends, well, Madeline Pryor, she wears heels, and the heels really suck on the Marvel Legends ladies, so I can't just have them standing there because they won't stand up. Not unassisted. Now, I don't have any figure stands, so not any available. So this will be an assisted video, so I'm just going to be holding it up. I think the other one stands up a little bit better than this one does, but for the most part I'm going to be holding her up here. I have this is Goblin Queen from the Mutant X storyline book series I think is really what it is. I'll talk about that shortly, and then the other Goblin Queen over here, which most people are more familiar with. I will talk about this one a little bit later because that is a remake. Technically, I made that years ago, so this is a brand new custom. So again, this is Madeline Pryor, Goblin Queen, from the Mutant X storyline, or excuse me, series that was in the 90s. So a quick synopsis. I don't even know what the hell even caused it, to be honest with you. I bought the book on accident when I was a kid. But I know something had happened to Havoc in the X Factor series, and he got transported through a portal or what have you, and ended up in an alternate universe where well, things were just different, and I can't fully explain, but he was in an alternate universe for quite some time, and Madeline Pryor over in that universe was not the evil Madeline Pryor that we know of her in the normal Marvel universe. She was actually a member of the X-Men or X Factor. I'm not really sure what team they were masquerading as, but that's where you get Bloodstorm from, where the Storm that was bitten by a vampire. Fun fact, that story, the origin of Bloodstorm, was the first, and I mean first, time I ever cried reading a comic book. I highly recommend that issue for anyone that likes Bloodstorm, or the idea of her, at least knowing her origin. And I won't spoil anything because, yeah, it's really, really good. I'm not even BSing you. That was the first time I ever cried reading a comic book. The second time I cried reading a comic book involved the same character, and I'm not talking about Bloodstorm. So, anyway, Mutant X, Madeline Pryor, this is what she looks like for what it's worth in that series. So they were very close, Havoc and Madeline Pryor, and they still are to this day, which is weird. But that's a whole nother thing. So to go over this as quickly as possible, the build I have for this, as well as the other one that I will be talking about shortly, is the exact same. And I do mean that. Again, we got heels down here, just your standard Hasbro heels. Again, you know, Hasbro, you know, they don't, it's not very good, right? It's hard to balance. I do normally have her displayed up against some, I think she's up against the hover chair for Xavier, the 90s one. So she's like leaning against that. But for the most part, she has a hard time standing. Until I get a figure stand, she'll have to bear with it. But it's your standard Kate Bishop like legs. These thighs are shorter thighs, so these are more modular. They can pop on and off, as you can see. little gaps in there, but these are the shorter legs on like an X-23 or a Miss Marvel or Spider Girl or whatever, the shorter ones. And then everything else, the lower torso and the upper torso, are all from a Shriek figure. So that's again the same thing as what I'm building on the what I built on the other Madeline. Upper and lower torso are from Shriek specifically. It doesn't matter that much, but it does help, and I'll go back to that when we talk about the other figure here. The arms are standard arms. You can see underneath the cape I did some sculpting there to get that detail there, so that is hard sculpted onto the arms and been painted. This detailing on the side of the leg, I actually looked up the statue that exists. Like, I think there's a Diamond Select statue of this particular costume for Madeline, which is pretty much the only merchandise, I believe, official merchandise for Mutant X the series, as well as this costume in particular for Madeline, that exists, and it's a great statue. I almost bought it, but then I am me and I made one myself. So yeah, other than that, like I said, all that's sculpted on and then painted. And then her cape, so I did talk about that in a previous video about how that's made, or how I did that. So this is the first practical application of me using this very common not homemade, but common plastic. In particular, it was plastic from like a mattress pad, or like bed sheets or something like that. Those type of, that when you buy that stuff, that plastic that is packaged in, that's what this is. All of this, these actual buttons or buckles are here. That's a hard sculpt, that's epoxy sculpt. I just made some buttons, glued that to the plastic, and then sanded and painted that on there. And I decided to not hard sculpt that onto her body, so it is rather not necessarily loose, because it is a little on the tight side, but it is not hard static on her body. So it does look a little jank from that perspective, but this is actually a fixed version of this, because my first attempt at this, this was just, let's just say it was off, and that's why the video was delayed. And I, no lie, literally right before filming this today, I decided to try something and decided to cut it down in the back, because it was riding up the back of her neck and it was just too long and just wasn't measured right. So I decided to just try that, because I was originally just going to remake it, and that's why everything was delayed. I was going to remake it and I got lazy. I decided not to do that, but it worked, cutting it down in the back. So now you can see more of her shoulders and stuff in the back. It's not riding up her neck. It's sitting at a pretty decent spot on her, on her overall. Yeah, and that's about it. The face here is Age of Apocalypse Jean Grey, so it is on both Madelines. So again, Madeline is the clone of Jean Grey. I always use this head for all my Jean Grey customs, so I should use it also for Madeline, but these are the same face. And the hair is from Storm, so the classic, the 90s Jim Lee Storm that Hasbro's been using over and over. This is like the original hair. This is the exact same hair, just repainted. And then, yeah, that's it. Her eyes are green, pretty much when she uses her powers for the most part. And yeah, there's no other detail other than that. You can't see the back or anything like that unless I take everything off, but I don't feel like doing that. So yeah, assisted custom right here. And now let's go ahead and talk about why most of you are probably here, is because I remade my Goblin Queen, the other Madeline prior. So this one should be able to stand okay. For the most part, this one's been better on my shelf. I haven't had much issues with it. So like I said, same build as the other one, same idea, heels and stuff. The heels work better on this one for whatever reason, or they just, she stays standing upright. All the legs and all of that stuff, upper torso, lower torso, the same. And now I don't mind, and I totally understand why someone might take a Shriek figure And it's super easy too, to just take this and swap the head out with whatever head you want to use, like the Dark Phoenix head, which is what I used before on my first Madeline prior. Swap in, put it on here, remove all the white, and just have black arms, and then paint the flesh tone wherever you need to, and add a cape somewhere somehow. Boom, you have a relatively easy Madeline Pryor Goblin Queen with pinless legs. It would work really well, but I'm very particular, so I didn't go that route. That's why she looks the way she does. But it would be totally reasonable to just do what I described. I'm very particular. I know this doesn't look like a flawless, amazing custom. In fact, when I said first application, this is actually the first application of me using that plastic, was making this cape and making this little sash right here that is, covering up her naughty bits, basically. So this is just a straight cut of plastic that I, cut a little bit of tatteredness at the bottom down there, but for what it's worth, there's nothing else particularly special about it. I actually forgot to prime it, I believe. This one, yeah, I forgot to put primer on it. I just painted black straight on top of it. It still turns out fine, but maybe a little bit better if I put primer on it, but it's fine. Again, the same build. Put this sculpted on the jewelry or whatever. There, it is painted gold and not yellow. That's just a personal choice. I know it looks very yellow in the comics, but that's what I wanted to go with. I whited out her eyes because that's also what I wanted to go with. I might do a little bit of touching up because I actually did do that yesterday. Touched it up just a little bit. I might touch it up a little bit more for her eyes, but for what it's worth, I'm totally fine with how this turned out. The hair comes from White Rabbit. Again, the head is Age of Apocalypse Jean Grey, and that's about it. It's relatively simple. I'm using regular arms, not the double jointed pinless ones. It's just a personal choice. I have a ton of these arms, so I'm going to use them. I don't have a ton of double jointed pinless. I'm going to save those for, whenever I feel it's appropriate for the character, or whenever I feel I have enough of them to just be using them a little bit more loosely, or whatever. They're, even Hasbro's not using them all the time, so that's why I'm not rushing out the door to put that on all of my figures. But yeah, that's about it. I made, like I said, I made my original Madeline about 3 years ago, more or less, like exactly 3 years ago, and I don't have anything from that figure, that original Madeline, left. The only thing I took from that Madeline is the heels. These are the exact same heels that I used on that Madeline, and I just repainted the outside so they're not as shiny of a black as they originally were, but everything else was completely replaced and updated, and this is how my Madeline's going to look. Again, not the best looking cape in the world, but as my first application, you will see very soon how I'm going to continue to evolve this and make this look cooler and better, and it's going to be used more widely continuously going forward. It's very practical, very easy access, very accessible material, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and do some comparisons, and then we can get out of here. All right, so we got our comparisons now. If you don't know, Madeline Pryor, once again, she's a clone of Jean Grey. She was created by Mr. Sinister. So that is what that Inferno storyline is about. That's where she came from. Actually, I personally never read Inferno, and I still need to work on doing that, clearly. But Havoc's also a part of that storyline. Like I said, they kind of have a thing. It's weird that your brother likes the clone of your girlfriend, but Cyclops, Havoc have a weird thing going on. Whatever. But yeah, there's your quick little comparison there. Also have, this is the only other real Jean Grey comparison that I I can make without too much trouble, which would be 90s Jim Lee right here. Let's put her on the side. That'll be better. A little bit better. So yeah, that's pretty much. It's funny that she's actually shorter than this Jean Grey, but the heels make her just a tad bit taller. I'm going to be making another version of this, or remaking this, to make her as short as Madeline, so they are all uniform. But that's so not happening anytime soon. It's going to be later on in the year if I get to it. If not, it'll be like the first thing I do when I make customs in 2024. Whenever that is, which I've already mentioned is going to be like a big delay before I start doing anything in 2024, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Jean Grey, Madeline. Let's get the other Madeline out here as well. And yeah, I was going to put Havoc out here, but yeah, as you can see, I'm going to have the assisted Madeline and then this one here. So yeah, this turned out a lot better, especially, again, I literally cut this cape 5 minutes before I started shooting, so this is a fix that I just did, and it looks a lot better than it used to. But I am very happy with this. I will try to get a figure stand for this one. I actually do have one left, and then I need to start buying some more. So I'll probably put her on that last one, or maybe one of the figures that I'm going to be doing a review of in my next video, because those are already done. I'm going to film that right now. So, oh yeah, before I go, I completely forgot, for this Black Madeline, I also, as the motorcycle goes by, sorry about that, the demon that I had made for the original Madeline prior, this is the same one, and I repainted it as well, and now it looks a lot better than what it did back then, because I had made my own custom color and it was really yucky looking green, and now it's just a solid dark green with some yellow eyes, and it looks much better than it did before. Also has a really nice finish, matte finish to it, so it actually looks really sick. This is basically the little demon slash Lockheed that comes with the Magic Walgreens figure that I just repainted. So she'll have her own little demon, or her own goblin, because she's a goblin queen. But that'll do it. Thanks for watching. Like I said, I'm about to film the next video right now, so you actually won't have to wait too much longer for the next video. I'm gonna be editing and posting all of this stuff very soon, so maybe within the next week I'll post it and you will have something else that you can watch. But thanks for joining me today. It's been really nice revisiting an old custom that I did a couple years ago, and just showing how much I've improved. The finish on this looks so nice. I really love the matte black, and the hair, actually using a custom head instead of just head swapping from one figure to another. So just a lot of stuff, and still improving here. By the way, I think you probably saw a little preview or side view of what's going on back there, just to give you a little cheekiness there. But you can see it is fully painted. This is a piece of plastic that is glued down, so it ain't gonna fly up or anywhere. But yeah, just to let you know, it's not that lewd. All right, see you guys later.